pasta. Your way is best.
Enjoy the delicious, nourishing, and satisfying taste of Golden Penny Semovita. My soup's first choice.
When you start baking, you never know what the end result is going to be. You might end up helping to bring people together, or you might end up helping someone mark a milestone. Thanks to you, a beautiful family may end up bonding over breakfast. Or a group of friends could end a long day on a relaxing note. You never know how it's going to end, but you know one thing for sure? Every time you bake with Golden Penny flour, you create a golden moment.
My name is Otekbola Andrea. I am 10 years old and I dance. I do ballet, hip-hop, afro, and I'm planning on learning salsa and tap dance.
When she was about 2+, she actually demanded for her first dance class herself. On a Saturday, and Andrea walked downstairs and said, "Mommy, I want to have a dance class."
What helped me to stay focused and dance well is my amazing day breakfast and my parents' love.
The first impression Andrea had with Amazing Day cereal really was the pack.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so it actually helps a lot, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, Amazing Day was the best.
Golden Penny Amazing Day Instant Cereal. See, they're amazing.
In my house, we may look alike, but we are very different individuals. Everybody believes their way is best. That's why Golden Penny Pasta is our favorite meal.
Golden Penny pasta, made with durum wheat, is tasty, a source of protein and fiber, and non-sticky. So you can cook, serve, and eat your pasta just the way you like it. With Golden Penny pasta, your way is best.
Enjoy the delicious, nourishing, and satisfying taste of Golden Penny Semovita. My soup's first choice.
When you start baking, you never know what the end result is going to be. You might end up helping to bring people together, or you might end up helping someone mark a milestone. Thanks to you, a beautiful family may end up bonding over breakfast. Or a group of friends could end a long day on a relaxing note. You never know how it's going to end, but you know one thing for sure. Every time you bake with golden penny flour, you create a golden moment.
My name is Otekbala Andrea. I'm 10 years old and I dance. I do ballet, hip hop, afro, and I'm planning on learning salsa and tap dance.
When she was about 2 plus, she actually demanded for her first dance class herself. On a Saturday, an Andrea walked downstairs and said, "Mommy, I want to have a dance class."
What helps me to stay focused and dance well is my amazing day breakfast and my parents' love.
The first impression Andrea had with Amazing Day cereal really was the pack.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so it actually helps a lot, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, Amazing Day was the best.
Golden Penny Amazing Day instant cereal. Feed that amazing.
In my house, we may look alike, but we are very different individuals. Everybody believes their way is best. That's why Golden Penny Pasta is our favorite meal.
Golden Penny Pasta, made with durum wheat, is tasty, a source of protein and fiber, and non-sticky. So you can cook, serve, and eat your pasta just the way you like it. With Golden Penny Pasta, your way is best.
Distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, the time is 2 p.m. I have been advised by the company secretary that a quorum is present and the meeting is hereby called to order. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the annual general meeting of our company. May I seek your permission to sit down? I hereby call on the Eco Hotel and Suites safety manager to give us a few safety tips for the meeting. I'm told that the safety manager is yet to be here. Dear supportive shareholders, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 63rd annual general meeting of our company, which has been duly convened and properly constituted. I would like to thank our shareholders in attendance physically and all those who have joined this meeting via the live broadcast for their continued commitment to the growth of our company. Please be informed that microphones and amplifying equipment are being used for recording the broadcast of the proceedings. I will therefore request members to kindly raise your hands if you wish to speak. If you are called upon, a microphone will be brought to you at your seat. Speak clearly into the microphone whenever you make a point or you second a motion. Please ensure that your mobile phones are either switched off or set in such a way that they will cause no distraction or interference with the public address system. We have a full agenda, and it might be helpful to explain that you will have the opportunity to second each motion put to the meeting. There will be an opportunity for questions to be taken on that particular motion only before the vote on it is taken. Please be informed that the Register of Directors' Holdings is available for inspection during the meeting in accordance with Section 301, Subsection 8 of the Company and Allied Matters Act, 2020, hereinafter referred to as CAMA. Where are they? Also, in accordance with Section 284, Subsection 2 of CAMA, the record of directors' attendance at board meetings is available for inspection at this meeting. The information is further contained on page 47 of the annual report and accounts. I will now introduce the directors physically present at this meeting. To start, please permit me to convey to you the unreserved apology of the chairman, Mr. John Kumantaros, who is unable to attend this meeting physically due to another pressing national duty. On my left is Mr. Omoboyede Olusonya, our Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer. Next to him is Dr. Mrs. Salamatu Suleiman. To my far left are Mr. Thanasis Mazarakis, Mr. Muhammad Ahmad, I am Mr. Paul Bededo, the Vice Chairman of the Board and the Acting Chairman of this meeting. To my immediate right is Mr. Joseph Umolu, our company secretary. To my far right, Alhaji Yunus O. Salio, Mr. Yanis Casaonis, Mr. R.A. Williams, Mr. Alfonso Garate, and Mr. Anders Christensen, our Chief Finance Officer. Other directors who are not physically present here but have joined us virtually are Mrs. Juliet Anama, Ms. Yewande Sadiko, Mr. Fulusho Phillips, Alhaji Rabiu Guazo, and Professor Jerry Gana. For more on the profile of each of the board members, please see pages 27 to 34 of the annual report and accounts. Statutory Audit Committee. The chairman of the Statutory Audit Committee is Mr. Olalekan Oladepo Adesina, is here. Also present are Mr. Shekoni Nuruddin Adebayo and Mr. Adesina Tajuddin Imran, members of the committee. Independent auditor. The firm of KPMG Professional Services acted as our independent auditor. The firm is represented here by Dr. Goodluck Obi and Mr. Akintoye Alawode. Other officers. We have a representative of the Nigerian Exchange Limited, Ms. Peggy Halliday, who is present virtually to monitor the proceedings. The representative of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mrs. Amina Tanko, who is here to observe the proceedings. The representative of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Mrs. Afoma Agali, who is here to observe the proceedings. Be kindly informed that the chairman's statement is on pages 17 to 20 of the annual report and accounts. With your kind permission, I will deem it as read. I now call on the company secretary to read the notice of meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notice of Annual General Meeting. Noting is hereby given that the 63rd Annual General Meeting of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC will be held at Latana Hall, Eco Hotel and Suites at Tokumbo Ademola Street, Victoria Island, Lagos, on Thursday, 9th November 2023 at 2 p.m. to transact the following businesses. Ordinary business. 1. To lay the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st March 2023 and the report of the directors, auditors, and audit committee thereon. 2. Declare a dividend. 3. Elect/re-elect directors, to wit, to re-elect the following directors retiring by rotation: Mr. Muhammad K. Ahmad, Mrs. Juliet Anama, Mr. Paul M. Bededo, Alhaji Yunus O. Saliu, Mr. Folarin R.A. Williams. To re-elect by special notice Alhaji Yunus O. Saliu, who is over 70 years but eligible for re-election pursuant to Section 282 of CAMA 2020. 4. Disclose the remuneration of managers of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. 5. Authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. 6. Elect members of the audit committee. Special business by ordinary resolution. 7. to consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution on the renewal of general mandate for related party transactions as an ordinary resolution of the company. That pursuant to Rule 20.8 of the Rule Book of the Nigeria Exchange Limited, a general mandate be and is hereby given authorizing the company to continue to procure goods and services and engage in other transactions that are necessary for its day-to-day operations from its related parties on normal commercial terms consistent with the company's transfer pricing policy. All transactions falling under this category, which were earlier entered into in 2023 prior to the date of this meeting, are hereby ratified. Voting by trusted persons. In line with the provisions of Rule 20AH, rules governing related party transactions of Nigerian Exchange Limited, interested persons have undertaken to ensure that their proxies, representative or associates shall abstain from the voting on Resolution 7 above to approve 8, to approve the remuneration of directors. Special business by special resolution 9, to consider and if thought fit, approve the amendment of Clause 27 of the company's Memorandum and Article of Association. 10, to consider and if thought fit, approve the carve-out of the business of Bako from that of Flour Mills of Nigerian PLC into a 100% owned subsidiary and divest 60% equity of Flour Mills of Nigerian PLC in Bako. Notes. 1. Proxy. A member of the company entitled to attend and vote at this meeting is entitled to appoint a proxy to attend and vote instead of him or her.
Is that what you want?
Thank you very much. Haven't been taken as read. That is by the order of the board.
Item number 1 on the agenda is to receive the accounts for the year ended 31st March 2023 and the reports of the directors and auditors thereon, which have already been circulated. Before we take questions or comments on the report and accounts, I will call on the independent auditor and the audit committee to present their respective reports. Dr. Goodluck Obi, a partner in the firm of KPMG Professional Services, to present the independent auditor's report, also found on pages 62 to 67 of the annual report and accounts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, distinguished shareholders. Our reports can be found as stated by the chairman. I hereby place the indulgence of the members of the company to take certain aspects of our report as read, and I will just focus on a few aspects of the report. Do I have your permission, please? Okay. Independent Auditor's Report to the shareholders of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. Report on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC, the company, and its subsidiaries together, the group, which comprise the consolidated and separate statements of financial position as at 31st March 2023, the consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the consolidated and separate statements of changes in cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes comprising significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of the company and its subsidiaries as at 31st March 2023, and of its consolidated and separate financial performance and its consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with IFRS standards as issued by the International Accounting Standards Board, IFRS standards, and in the manner required by the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2021. The key audit matters are as shown on pages 62 all the way to 66. I will therefore go to the last section, which is on page 67. Reports on other legal and regulatory requirements. Compliance with the requirements of Schedule 5 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA, 2020. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of the audit. In our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the company so far as appears from my examination of those books. The company's statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts, signed by myself on the 29th of August, 2023. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Obi. In accordance with the provisions of CAMA, members of the Statutory Audit Committee met in the course of the year to, among other things, examine the report of the independent auditor, and the chairman of the committee shall present their report. I now call on Mr. Olalekan Oladepo Adesina to present the committee's report found on page 60 of the annual report and accounts.
Good afternoon, members of the board and the fellow shareholders. The report of the audit committee is found on page 60 as mentioned by the chairman. To the members of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC for the financial year ended 31st March 2023. In accordance with section 404, subsection 4 and 7 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, year 2020, the audit committee received the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st March 2023, together with the management letter from the external auditors and management response thereto at the newly convened meeting of the committee. We reviewed the scope and planning of the audit requirements and found them to be adequate. After the consideration, the committee accepted the report of the external auditors that the financial statements give a true and fair view of the state of the company's financial affairs as at 31st March 2023, having been prepared in accordance with international financial reporting standards. The committee reviewed management's response to the external auditor's findings in the management letter, and we are satisfied with management responses. The committee considered and approved the provision made in the financial statements for the remuneration of the external auditors. We confirmed that internal control system was constantly and effectively monitored through effective internal audit function. The external auditors confirmed that they received full cooperation from management in the course of their statutory audit. The committee therefore recommends that the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st March 2023 and the external auditors' reports thereon be presented for adoption at this general meeting. We signed this thing on 4th of August 2023, myself and the other members of the audit committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adesina. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the board, I hereby lay before this meeting the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st March 2023. Are there any questions or comments which shareholders would like to ask or make about the accounts, my statement, or the company's activities generally? My colleagues and I will be pleased to answer any questions which you may have on the report and accounts before we proceed to the next item on the agenda. Follow-up questions and comments could also be sent to the company secretary's email address, which is jumolu@fmnplc.com. Is there any question or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, other board members, the regulatory authorities here present, my fellow distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Barrister Detutu Shiyonbola. I'm the president of Highly Favored Shareholders Association. Mr. Chairman, I have some observations, comments, questions, and suggestions on our annual report. With your kind permission, I'll quickly run through them. On page 9, group performance highlights. Going through all the indices therein, I observe a growth in our turnover, a growth in our profits and dividend in the year under review. I want to seize this opportunity to give kudos to the board and the management team for this effort, for their effort, and implore them to do more. On page 27, from page 27 to 34, the beautiful faces of the board of directors. I observe that we have only 3 ladies in the board of 15 directors, which amounts to 20%. This is unacceptable on gender balancing. We have to improve on it going forward. On page 35, the board, the beautiful faces of the executive leadership team. I observe that we have no single lady in the management team of 10 members, which is ridiculous. This is unacceptable on gender balancing as well. We have to improve on it going forward. On page 40 and 41, directors' interest in shares. I observe that only 7 directors out of 15 listed have our shares attached to their names, directly or indirectly in the year under review. Why? On page 41, substantial interest in shares. I observe that we have a major shareholder with the minority shareholders. And I would like to know, you are distracting me, man. I beg, let me go and stay in my place. It's distracting me. Mr. Chairman, please let me go ahead. On page 41, substantial interest in shares. I observe that we have a major shareholder and the minority shareholders in our company in the year under review. I would like to know who is representing the interest of the minority shareholders in our board. From page 47 to 50, attendance at board meetings and board committee meetings is good, but can be better. On page 69 and 70, consolidated and separate statement of financial position. I want to limit myself to group position. Trade and other receivables went up from 39.9 billion naira to 47.5 billion naira in the year under review. What are the modalities in place to collect this debt from our customers to the barest minimum so that it will not end up as a bad debt that will be written off? Trade and other payables also went up from 194.6 billion naira to 332.6 billion naira in the year under review. How do we intend to pay this debt to our creditors? From page 178 to 187, 2023 Sustainability and CSR reports. I observe that our CSR in the year under review is perfect because it covered health, education, social welfare, youth empowerment, and community development. This is commendable. Please keep it up. On page 188, awards stroke events. I observe that we have series prestigious awards to our credit in the year under review. This is highly commendable. Please keep it up. I also observe that we have utilized this annual report judiciously to advertise all our products. This is commendable. Please keep it up. Thanks and God bless you richly for this opportunity. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Barrister. Pat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The boss and directors of Flour Mill Nigerian PLC, my fellow shareholders, the regulator here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I say good afternoon to all. Mr. Chairman, please pass on our message to our very good chairman. Though he's absent, but we appreciate his leadership so far. And we pray that God will continue to strengthen him anywhere he is. Mr. Chairman, also, my name is Patrick Ajudwa. Also, I want to put on record on the chairman's statement that this is the first time I'm seeing a chairman's statement with a detailed explanation of the business report and that of the group managing director. They have done well in their report, and that report is self-explanatory enough. Mr. Chairman, I want to commend the company secretary. He's doing a very good job. His level of organization, level of rapport to shareholders, we appreciate you, Mr. Joseph Umoru. Mr. Chairman, I'm a little bit worried on the resolution, which is on page 6, and particularly the issue of BACO-SAC. And that where I'll be asking Mr. Boye to please give us an highlight. BACO-SAC was a subsidiary before. We divest, it become a food loan, and later now we are talking of divesting 60% of our holding. So, Mr. Chairman, we need explanation as to why this is happening. Why are we giving out 60%? I want to commend the remarkable financial performance which saw the revenue grow to 1.54 trillion by 32%, the first for any food and agro-allied company in Nigeria, which saw the bottom line closing positively at 29.5 billion. This is a demonstration of the unwavering commitment of the board and management to increase the business environment, manage both existing and emerging challenges while driving significant development across all the business value chain. But my worry is rightly on page 71. So, Mr. Boye, we have seen the increase in revenue. But following from the above top-line performance, and that's where my question comes, across the business segment, we are concerned that the rising costs are not letting management to convert the increasing sales into profits, as seen in the report, where 32% rise in the sales produce only 5.4% improvement in profit for the year. Can you please give us an explanation? Also, on page 101, Mr. Chairman, I want to commend the food segment, which delivered a double-digit growth of 26% to 1.06 trillion of 34 billion. The agro-allied business also delivered a strong top-line increase of 24% in revenue to 328 billion. However, the gross profit declined by 23% to 28.8 billion. Same for the sugar segment. On page 18, Mr. Chairman, we have seen how you make progress in revenue diversification, exporting a total of 155,000 metric tons of intermediates, commodities, and packaging material. However, in your first quarter report this year, the company suffered a foreign exchange loss of over 225 billion, leading to a loss before tax of 9.3 billion. Can you please explain this to us? Mr. Chairman, if you recall, the purpose of investment has to do with dividend. On page 37, the shareholder wants to state emphatically that we appreciate. We thank the board, we thank the management for a dividend of 2 naira 25 kobo, above 2 naira 15 kobo given last year. Please, let's give a round of applause to them. Mr. Chairman, on page 18, following the acquisition of Honeywell Flour Mill, how has the journey been in terms of realization of advantages and opportunities of integration? How hopeful are we to see the benefits of acquisition and contribute to the top line? On a final note, Mr. Chairman, on page 101, Mr. Chairman, apart from the evil effects of high foreign exchange rates, what is management doing to address this high cost of sales? We are spending over 96% of our revenue. The high cost of raw materials are there. Why are we not looking inwards in sourcing our raw materials? What are we doing to improve our local sourcing? Also of concern is the 32% risk in rise in operating expenses occasioned by high logistic costs, that is diesel prices, 125% increase in finance costs, which impact so much on the bottom line. So we will be expecting you, Mr. Chairman, to please tell us what management is doing. We have seen how you have exported so much, but is it not enough to cover our foreign exchange deficits? If not, then what alternative do we have? Because it is not peculiar to only flour mill, it's industry-wide, this issue of foreign exchange. But we must find a solution. And in finding a solution, I believe that we are going to get to the promised land. We appreciate you, we thank the board, and we ask God to continue to increase you from strength to strength. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Mr. Owo, please.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, very distinguished fellow shareholders, other directors, regulators, and our auditors. For the records, my name's Nona Ao. Mr. Chairman, I was a little uncomfortable when you called me after having two speakers open the floor. The first one had a phone. The second one had an iPad. Meanwhile, I've come analog, so I don't know what let me also tell you that before that shock, I had a much earlier shock, and that shock was bigger than this. When you started the introduction of the directors, if not for you introduce Madam Salamoto, I thought the ladies were on strike. I thought the ladies were on strike. But let's leave that for another day, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, I didn't call you interim because last year you were interim, and I don't think you can be consecutively interim. So I will give you full compliment. Chairman, don't mind me. Page 8 and page 10. I know that I have been accused of spearheading you having to have founder in the proper sense of it at the last AGM. But I don't think the concept that I mentioned has to do with late. What I think you should have instead of late, which I mentioned last year, put 2015 to 2030, the period he lived. Because for prosperity, and why some of us are pushing this, it's important that both Nigerians and non-Nigerians are continually encouraged to live a life that lives beyond them. And if a man is going to live after he has even left, then what you should have is not late. It's just the period that he had lived in physical. So I'll be hoping that this mistake will not be repeated next year. Company Secretary, I think this is basically in your domain. The second major area which I want to talk about, and I'll be asking the chairman to permit me to slightly differ from what is being said by one of my colleagues. If you look at page 18, you look at page 9, and you look at page 37, one thing that is common to all of them is the fact that we are paying 2 naira 25 kobo. But there are two ways I can earn money as an investor. If I don't earn good dividend, I can earn capital appreciation. If you look at this account, for anybody who came in between close of last year and the current year, he lost 5 kobo in terms of price. But much more importantly, in terms of yield, I could as well put my money in Agboma Agbe Bank before it became Wema, and they will pay me a yield that is more than 6%. Because if we are not conscious of that, then you are going to be punishing investors, especially the small investors, because the big investors don't sell. And unfortunately, the small investor that sells is the one that helped to drive your price, and yet he gets punished by not getting good dividends. And in this instance, he's also not getting good appreciation. Please, when you look at your dividend that you want to pay, always look at how does it affect the small shareholders. And I'll share this with you as part of what I looked at in this account. If you look at page 41, you'll find that in terms of shareholders holding, 84.15% hold less than 5,000 units. And in that 5,000 units, even with the 2 naira that you pay, by the time they remove tax, they will just manage to take 10,000 home. If you then extend it to people who hold 10,000 and above, and interestingly, the maximum that they will be taking home will be 20,300. I got worried, in fairness to the company, when I then read on page 21, and you talk about shareholders' loyalty and constant commitment. So if they've been loyal and they've been committed, I don't think this is the way to appreciate them. I don't think so. I know that when you are likely to give answer, you will tell me about all the costs, but I will not let you say it without me saying it. If you look at page 100 and 101, you are going to find that the margin that we take across boards, other than the service subsector, is less than 10. So if you have that type of margin, by the time you begin to put all the other costs, then there's certainly nothing that you want to give that is substantial. So in that light, I'll be asking, unfortunately, the spin-off of 60% is coming, imposed on us. But let me be honest with you, I'm happy that it's coming. Because you had done that in the past, but you were not patient enough to get the benefit of it. And then the company ran back. But now that you are back, I don't think it's only Bago that we need to look at. Because if we don't spin off some of the growing companies now so that they can have bigger attention, the chances are high that will not create value for shareholders, with due respect. And I'll be asking in that regard that we look at things like on page 104, I find computer and general expenses in the manner in which they are standing. But I think that the issue of computer should most likely read IT, because I'm not sure that if you spend money only on computer, you spend that amount of money in one single year. I want to think it has to do or has a relationship with IT. So I will be hoping that that will be addressed. But for general expenses, 5.9 billion, that itself represents almost 15% of the admin cost. So what is it that we can do differently other than the cost of power, which I also hope that some of our centers will be able to say, can we put solar so that we can have better benefits? Because if we don't, what you are going to find, again, thanks for the grant that's from federal government. Because if you look at page 105, which you also have related in page 154, which is also related on page 172, has to do with our cost of borrowing. Our cost of borrowing in 1 year, bank interest in 1 year went up by 30.6 billion. 30.6 billion, and that self-represented 170% jump. And if you compare 1 year to the other, you are going to find a situation where the jump was 180%. What that indicates for me is that we probably need to begin to relook our funding structure. Because if we are going to hold, if not for the grant, these amounts will have been higher, certainly. But if we begin to look at the possibility of doing much longer term funding with lower margin, lower costs rather, and an ability to also predict how our cost is going to go, that may be one of the ways to be able to sustain the new businesses that we are going into. But certainly at this rate, largely all the money will go to the financiers. And I don't think that is the way we'll want to go. Please note, I'm not unmindful of the fact that we spent 62 billion, a little over that, in new assets in the year under review. But even in buying assets, let's also make sure that the source of funding is one that will be favorable to everybody. Because the way it is now, the minorities will never get good returns. And that, for me, is something that we need to look at. I have heard the issue of receivables, so I won't talk about it. Other than to say that if we were able to get 50% of the receivable that stood in the year under review, that itself will have brought additional 50 kobo per dividend that you are declaring today. And that's where the importance of receivable comes in for me. So I'll be hoping that I will look at what is possible. Mr. Chairman, I want to say that, again, in managing this booklet, given that it has become a textbook for very many of us, which for me is good, is we must also manage duplications. If you look at page 38 to 40, you have profile of directors that are seeking re-election. Already, that profile is in the general profile of directors, so it wasn't necessary. Okay? What we probably would have done is to refer whoever is interested in their profile, because they are seeking re-election, to the general profile. So those 3 pages will have been saved. If you also look at the profile, page 27 to 34, interestingly, if this was a military regime, we would have had 4 soldiers. And what those 4 soldiers will have been, they will have been unknown appointment date soldiers. Because no director here doesn't have an appointment date. So if they have, let us be consistent. But here, 4 of them have unknown dates in terms of appointment. And I don't think that speaks across board for what we are doing. Mr. Chairman, I have talked about spin-off of more of the subsidiaries. But it's also important that going forward, because one major bank has abused minority to the point that the bank, as big as the bank is, almost collapsed. Let's take time, since we are going to save 3 pages, duplicating director's profile, just take half a page, list the subsidiaries and who sits on those subsidiaries on our behalf. And I thought, given the age of this company and given the support that you have gotten from shareholders, that itself, the subsidiary structure, will have provided you opportunity to be able to, like they do in English League, bring people in at a lower level, and as they matured with you as to what you do, they can also come to the board. Because whether we want it or not, this board would need to be relooked again, given the number of years that we are beginning to find that some of you have served, and given the fact that I strongly think that we should not overwork willing horses. But it's something that this board must begin to do and look at very quickly. Mr. Chairman, let me refer you in my closing to page 45. On that page 45, there is an advert there that says quality products. And I'll be asking that probably when we do it next year, we should also add quality returns. And I know that quality returns will also mean better dividends. But much more importantly, given that we are into agric, can we begin to look at products, locally produced products, that will have huge acceptance internationally, and begin to see how we can begin to manage our FX requirements? A couple of years before COVID, I mentioned the issue of acha. Acha is a local grain, and I'm sure that if we get a good number of farmers from Plateau and Nasarawa to produce acha, and we process them well, we'll probably sell far better than cocoa oats. So don't let us say that, oh, the only thing that we want to do is direct backward integration that fix only our meals. No, let's also begin. We've seen it all. Like the speaker before me said, you saw the size of loss, though not realized yet, that we posted in the quarter under review. So it's important that we begin to look at what next can we do, because there's so much we can do as a nation going forward. Mr. Chairman, I also think that going forward, page 47 to 50, I must commend the members of the audit committee, and I'll be requesting that some members of the committees of the board try and emulate them. They had 100% in attendance. And I know that some of our directors, maybe some of them were on maternity leave, I'm not sure, but they missed the number of meetings. But if we are sure that they are going to be on maternity leave, let's fix the meetings when they will have been back from maternity leave, so that their involvement can be full. And on a final note, yes, you are paying us 2 naira 25 kobo. And I ask, if you had offered to pay an interim of 50 kobo and pay the balance now, is it the same thing? Certainly not. So one major thing I think this board should begin to look at, that we must begin to look at, how do we reward shareholders? Because if you gave me 50 kobo before petrol becomes 600 and something, I probably would have bought more liters of petrol in the car than, or even if I decide to buy bread, I would have bought bread when it was less than 1,000 than buying it at 1,200. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the attention.
Thank you. Please permit me to Mr. Okezie, please.
Mr. Chairman, directors of a great company, very distinguished shareholder, good afternoon. My name is Okezie Boniface. Mr. Chairman, I will not take your time because that has spoken. It's almost 3 o'clock now. I want people to leave here in time because of transportation wise. Mr. Chairman, I want to say the company have done very well. But even at that, I have still my worry that our turnover went up. 1.5 trillion turnover is a huge for this year for this company. And 29.something billion profit around the year, Mr. Chairman, 5% increase in dividend payout is not good enough for us. Why am I saying this? If you have paid us 3 naira from the earning per share we had, or 4 naira, that would have been better. Considering this year, financial year that will end next year, most companies will not be able to pay dividend, Mr. Chairman. Most companies that have been paying higher dividend over the years are posting loss now. That's the reality. People can come here, shout and make noise. That's the reality on ground. If today you are paying us 2 naira, 15 kobo, 25 kobo, Mr. Chairman, next year I don't think it can be so. That's honestly. It's not, it may be a prophecy. It's just true. Because everything is telling on you today, on the companies. The ratio we have in inflation didn't, affect this account we are considering now. But today, the inflation is almost 7% over above that. No matter what the MPs are telling us, they are not giving us the real fact. Mr. Chairman, even if you pay 1 naira, 150 next year, we're going to applaud you, but a lot of companies will not be able to pay. And that's why you should have paid us 4 naira this year. We would have go home if you didn't pay next year. We can understand the situation we're in. Than paying us 2 naira 25 kobo. Mr. Chairman, that means come next year, you have to struggle again to pay us something. You can't leave us as an orphan. That the economy is bad. We know it's bad. And that's why, since we have this fallout, it should have increased the dividend payout this year, Mr. Chairman. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, on page 42, on donations. Mr. Chairman, 168.5 million you do out. That means the company is still consigned, given out to the society. But I pick a hole here on sponsorship of Nigerian Economic Summit Group, which collected 45 million, Mr. Chairman. I call it a jamboree because when we gather in Abuja to march out economic plan, the government, either present or the past, does not take this in serious. And we're paying huge money for this gathering instead of taking it to shareholder more to benefit. Because government is not serious in the economy. They're not addressing the issue affecting the common man. People are suffering and are given to those who are already richer. Mr. Chairman, we must consider our donations to the charitable organization. Even if they are given to the community where we operate. We see hospital, we see road, we see borehole, the company being created. That's good. But when it comes to cash donating to anything that institution, government, they're already richer. I pick hold on that, Mr. Chairman. It is not good, acceptable. But let our donation go around the geographical areas of the country. People must be feeling part of flour mill. They are eating our product. They are supporting one way or the other. So, Mr. Chairman, look at that directions. I don't say you shouldn't give. Look at the Institute of Bankers, this and that, professional institute. I mean, these are collecting rich organizations. Mr. Chairman, I don't like it as much. I want to commend the directors from page 47 to 50, board attendants and other committees. I commend one of the directors here. Our former company said the largest unity. never miss meeting. That man take this company serious. Just like as if when he was working as a company secretary in this organization. I think every director should emulate that man. He doesn't miss meeting. I don't know what energy he has to able to attend all the committees and board meetings. That's why policies have been formulated for management to drive the day-to-day running. And if every director absentee, that's a problem. One director missing almost 4. Professor Jerry, and I must mention it by name. If he's tired to retire, Mr. Chairman, please. We need people who are up and doing that, going to give their valuable contribution for the growth of this company. Mr. Chairman, on the notice convened the meeting, people have said about spinning Baco, who was listed at the exchange before, the same regulator forced you to take it away. Today, we would have been all beneficiary for Baco. We're doing very well. Because we are the most beneficiary of Baco product. Because we are the one making use of the bags being manufactured here. And the same regulators are now asking you again to take it down and sell off 60%. Maybe we return 40% out of the 100% because it's only owned by flour mill. Mr. Chairman, in compliance with the regulator, because our regulators are deaf and dumb, they don't do anything. Shareholder would have benefited from that company today. At issue for collect dividend there and collect here, marry them together. That's going to be a heavy one for us to go home. Mr. Chairman, you need to look for potential investor and sell it. That's 60%. So that we can have more money to drive our business instead of continuing to borrowing from the bank and taking toll on us. But we also might mindful who is coming in because we still have larger interest in Baco. Any person coming there may not give us headache and distort the operation of the company because we still have a large interest there, whether the SEC or whoever giving that directive like it or not. They are not the one patronizing them. We create them for our own purpose, for our own good, to make use of those companies instead of buying outside. That's the sense of doing these things, Mr. Chairman. And I'm praying that maybe the board will also consider telling the investor who is coming in to release that company so that we, the shareholder of Flour Mill, can also go in there as a shareholder. That's the only way to go. Mr. Chairman, having said that, finally, Mr. Chairman, on the issue of resolutions, on the attendance of meeting, I want to commend the board in their wisdom and company secretary to have abridged AGM. Today, we may have physical, maybe by next year, virtual, because other companies are borrowing it today and having some physical. So the arrangements were made that we must continue to have virtual and abridged physical is commendable. So for me, I think it should fly because shareholders have been carried along. So I want to commend the company secretary and the secretariat, what they have been doing. I think I don't speak the MD over the years until this. I have not spoken to him. I don't know his phone number. But the company secretary, I can get information, what's going on, and respond. Just like Alhaji Unity when he was there. It is the man that takes your call. Please, hold on. That's why they're calling for a virtual meeting. You make noise. When people are speaking, you make noise. We'll begin to support this virtual meeting to take you away. Mr. Chairman, having said that, I think we have done very well. We'll continue to pray for next year to be better than this year. God bless our company and shareholders. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman, and good afternoon, other directors. Good afternoon, esteemed shareholder. My name is William Adebayo. I am a shareholder. And secondly, which is most importantly, I am also a farmer, a poultry farmer. That's why I have taken it upon myself to be here and inform this organization. As a poultry farmer, I have millions of Nigerians. That makes it a point of duty that I should contribute and bring our flight before this board today. Mr. Chairman, before going forward, I want to comment on page 19 and 23 for your backward integration. Over 500 acres have been cultivated for cassava and so also starch. But whichever way we look at it, this organization is the largest agro-allied industry in Nigeria. Today, as a farmer, we are imploring this organization to come out as a saint for all poultry farmers. Today, millions of Nigerians are celebrating 2 naira 50 kobo. But the truth today is that millions of poultry have been closed up. And as the only institution that the farmers look upon today, the previous regime has failed entirely. Policies of assault has rendered the feed of poultry feed to go astronomically into times 10. Millions of Nigerians are into poultry business, have to wind up. Mr. Chairman, today, as a large organization, please, we pray that this organization should come out as a saint of poultry farmers. So also, like I mentioned before the COVID era, it is also important that this organization should continue to enlarge its coast. In Nigeria today, majority of us are farmers, but we lack storage facility. I mentioned it before the COVID, that we have opportunity to have physical meeting. Nigeria roads are bad. Millions of Nigerians are hardworking farmers. They needed storage facilities. As we are going into backward integration, it should embrace the farmers in hinterland. Every backward integration should engage farmers there. So also is the outgrowners too. Millions of Nigerians are suffering and they are not lazy, very hardworking. They need storage facilities. You can take example from the Israelis. We should be able to have storage facilities in all the regions, in the north, in the west, in the southeast, to help this organization and to put it into more profitability and to enlarge its coast. Because I see this organization as an agro organization that should feed Africa. That is the noble truth. All the roads are bad. Please, I have the mic. Please, I have the mic. Please, I have the mic. Everybody knows where it pinches. Everybody knows where it pinches. I am begging this board to be a saint of poultry farmers. Most of us, our asset depends on this business. And this is the only organization that we look into to give us solace and succor. The regimes have failed us. 3 regimes have failed us with policies on my fault. So thank you for the opportunity given. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
The chairman, members of the board of Flour Mills Nigeria PLC, regulatory authority representatives present, fellow shareholders, good afternoon. My name is Chief Timothy Adesina, the immediate past president of Nigerian Shareholders Solidarity Association. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the progress of Flour Mills Nigeria PLC, and also the choice of Mr. Umolu as the company secretary. When Alhaji Yunus was the secretary, he was so overworked to the extent that people used to call him, please share this responsibility. Just as Moses was called in the Bible by his in-law to share responsibility. We thank you for the choice of Mr. Umolu as a successor. It's a very good succession plan, and we are enjoying it. Now, I want to take you to page 6 of this annual report. On page 6, we have a list of items on the agenda. We thank you for the declaration of the dividend. And also, I want to speak on item 3, bullet 2, where we are seeking special re-election for Alhaji Yunus Saliu. He has been a strong tower in the progress of flour mills, and we want him to continue his contribution there, not minding his age, which he has declared in accordance with section 282 of KAMA. And since he's still of sound mind and still able to contribute, we are saying that we should allow him to continue in office. Hello, again, I want to refer to items number 9 and 10 on this agenda. Item number 9 is saying to consider and if thought fit, approve the amendment of clause 27 of the company's memorandum and articles of association. When I got here, I said, what does section 27 of these articles and memorandum say? It was then reading further that I got to item 10, where it was where the cloth which is used to seal the fact is revealed, and that is that we should do away with a bag co by divesting 60% of it, maybe to compensate for our acquisition of Honeywell. So when you are achieving something, please note that some enemies may be at the corner watching you and trying to stand in your way of progress. It means now we have to sacrifice Bagco for the acquisition of Honeywell. We thank God it is we, the same shareholders here, that own Honeywell, and we are the same people in flour mills. We are happy with this, and what I'm suggesting is that when we are giving Bagco out, we shall want you to please give us some share of it, just as Tony Elumelu did for us at UBA, when he had to split a part of the shares and give us pro rata on the basis of our holdings in UBA. So I'm also employing my fellow shareholders to approve this special resolution. Apart from this, I thank the company, the board, and management for the 2 naira 25 kobo dividend which you have given us, as other shareholders have commended you. And I'm now saying that you please remember that we shareholders are expecting something from the proceeds of divesting our holding in Bagco. Bagco, for a lot of years, has been giving us a lot of income, which we share as dividend. But what people now, or what the regulatory authorities are thinking, maybe, is that part of our taxes have been thrown into that place, and we are trying to evade tax, but we are not. So we want whosoever will be considering giving us this Bagco out to consider the plight of we shareholders. I will at this point thank the board and management for all you have been able to do so far. Thank you. God help you all. Thank you.
I will take only one more hand. Okay, one more. Okay, a lady at the last one. A lady as the last one. So I shouldn't call anyone. Thank you. I will attempt now to answer some of the issues that are raised, and I'll now be supported by the members on the board. One of the first points raised is about gender balance on the board and also on the management team. You will recall that prior to about 7 years ago, and for over 50 years, the board was dominated by the male gender. And from your suggestions in those years, it was considered, and we started injecting a measure of gender balance on the board. The pioneer female board member is to my far right, far left here, isn't it? And today, and listening virtually, there are 2 others. And as mentioned, we now have about 20% representation of females on the board. This is an ongoing process. And as we move on, we will see how we can improve on this balance. But be assured that it is something that the board is also working on from time to time as we see the need, because it's not just a question of having someone on board, but what the person is bringing to the table. And that has been the consideration in bringing females on board of your company. I think the 20% we have now is probably the average that we have in Nigeria. But we want to do more than that average. And so be assured that we'll be looking at opportunities to bring more ladies on board. Another point that was raised is about the representative of minority shareholders on board. Probably that was born out of the fact that one could see very clearly on the board representatives of the majority shareholders. Of course, the statutory requirement is very clear that we should have not just directors, we should have executive directors, we should have non-independent directors. Do I say non-independent? Independent directors, and so on. At the moment, we have about 4 independent non-executive directors. And since they are independent, they cover the interests of minority shareholders on the board of the company. That is the requirement, and we are keeping to that. Of course, if in the future we have the need to improve on that, we will do. Virtually all the speakers on the floor today mentioned the issue of BACO carve-out, and that we are disinvesting about 60% of that at the carve-out. I'm sure the issues are very clear, to all, and it's something that is required. If not, we won't go that way. At the acquisition of Honeywell, it was required that we have to do this disinvestment, and that is what we are complying with. And I'm very happy that you have given your consent to this carve-out. Another point that was raised is this rising cost of sales and rising cost of operations. I will give this to the Chief Executive Officer to just make some brief comment on this rising cost of sales and production.
Thank you, Chairman. Before I do that, I'll just make a quick comment on BACO, if you don't mind, sir. So, as the Chairman said, the carve-out of BACO was as a result of a regulatory ruling to do with the Honeywell acquisition. However, I must add two key points here. The first one relates to what one speaker said, which was that from a management point of view, we have to continue to look at how best to get shareholder value. And that actually includes looking at certain value chain lines and getting them to report independently within the group, that they stay within the group, but they report in such a way that we can see how well they are performing. Today, when you look at the results, you see food, you see agro, you see sugar, and you see others. It would be nice for us to be able to break the others into a distinct group, of which Bako would be one. That's the first one. Two would be, there would be no divestment done without us getting two things from that process. One, an appropriate return for the investment we've made, i.e. an appropriate valuation. And two, a strategic partner who can drive the business moving forward, so that it's not a sale to any party out there. Those two conditions have to be met for us to be able to conclude a sale. I'll go on quickly then to rising costs. As you've seen, the economy has, the operating environment in particular, has taken a couple of hits. You've seen the impact of the removal of subsidy on pricing and inflation. You've seen the impact of FX, which has a direct impact on imported raw materials. And you're seeing the impact of adjustment to cost of living that needs to come with that. It is, in the current economic climate, it is very difficult to pass on fully all the costs to the consumer, because consumer purchasing power is deeply affected. And in order to maintain a certain amount of volume, we have to be able to take some of those costs away from the pricing. So you will notice that there has to therefore be some lag between the impact of the costs we have to take and the pricing that we can effect in the marketplace. Noting that we continue to do things aggressively as management to reduce costs internally, and anywhere that we can see where costs can be managed, we're looking at that in a very aggressive manner. We also continue to look at the product mix that we produce to see how best we can reduce that. But in this climate, it is impossible to pass on all the costs that you've got, because consumer purchasing power is simply not there. So it is well noted, and what you're seeing is that lag, which is something that we are looking aggressively internally at dealing with.
Thank you very much, GMD. Another point that was raised is about local content and foreign exchange that needs to be improved. I think the management has been working on this issue of local content improvement and local content inclusion in our products. If you just look to my right here, you see one of the products advertised, Shoko. That's proudly Nigerian. Proudly Nigerian. It's a spread, and I must tell you, I have enjoyed this on bread, and the demand for this product is very high. Those are the kind of products that will not only be for domestic consumption, but as we progress, that we can also export, to the sub-region, and that can help, to improve foreign exchange earning of the company. Also, local content issues help to reduce our demand for foreign exchange as well, and therefore we can have our companies improving in their performances, using the local raw materials. And we are improving in our agro-allied businesses in particular that depend mainly on local raw materials. For instance, in the poultry business, we have about 40% of poultry feed today is made out of carbohydrates like maize that we can source locally, and that is helping to reduce our dependence on imports. Vegetable oil that we have, soybean oil and other vegetable oil, they are all sourced locally, and we are improving in our farm estates. For instance, cassava cultivation, we are improving in that. We are improving in aggregation of soybean. We are improving in our crude palm oil that we can source locally, to produce these golden penny products that will be fully Nigerian products. So we definitely are doing our best, to improve our local content in our products. Compensation of shareholders through dividend was a point that was raised. The dividend we are paying this year, which is 2 naira 25 kobo, is probably the highest that we have ever paid in the history of the company. So the board and the management are trying to ensure that we keep our shareholders happy, and we do everything possible to compensate our shareholders. Then a point was made on computer and IT spending on page 104 of the report. I'll give this to the GMD to really make some comments.
No, the answer was it is IT-related expenditure, so that's how it should have been captured, so that it would. So it's clear it's IT-related expenditure. Just one more comment, sir, on local content. By the way, we just launched Mayo mayonnaise product, which is also another locally produced, which is another of our products that has local content. Allied with earlier this year, we launched Amazing, the breakfast cereal. So you would see that there is a significant continuous pipeline of products that will come out that are mainly have local content in order to drive the diversification exercise that the chairman spoke about. The taste.
All right. I'm sure as soon as we increase production, it will be visible in the marketplaces. Okay, a point was made on the founder. On the founder and the introduction in the publication. We will take notice of that. Then a point was also made on the interest costs that has risen by almost 36 billion naira. And the question was raised that was responsible. Why is it that the cost of fund, or rather the finance cost, has gone up that much? Of course, let me make just some few comments on this. We have, a mix of loans that we deal with. We have the short-term loans, we have the long-term loans, we have the medium-term loans as well. And from time to time, when the long-term loans, when we reach the end of the life of the long-term loans, we may not be able to repeat what we have gotten, and therefore the cost of fund will increase by that time. And also, bank rates are going up. You know, we know that. And that creates the problem that if you are comparing one year with the other, or the previous year with this year, you see that cost of fund will have moved up, depending on the mix of the loans that you have. If you have more of the long-term loans, then your cost of fund may lessen. But if you have more of the short-term loans, then the cost of fund goes up. It depends on where we are or what mix we have at that particular time. And that is what is responsible for the rise in cost that was reported in the financial year. Then someone talks about the receivables, that we need to manage the receivable on the balance sheet very well. That is true. You know, the lesser the receivable, the better, you know, for our company, and the management continues to work on that. Not duplicating director's profile to save the pages. We have taken note of that, and probably that will not be repeated next year. Improvement in dividend, that came all through, yes. We will be improving as we improve the profitability of the company. Definitely, dividends will also improve. Then you talked about donations. We are very careful about donations. We pick the areas or the organizations that we donate to. You talk about NESG. NESG is not really a government organization. It's a private sector driven organization. And I'm sure that they are doing a great job. From year to year, you see what they do, especially with their summit, and how they lay down the economic plans that has been helping both the government, the executive, and the legislature as well. So we donate to such organizations because we know, you know, the importance of such organizations, and also, you know, the benefits that come from such organizations. And finally, the poultry farmers, we have heard you loud and clear. We will see what needs to be done to improve our feed prices, and to ensure that poultry farmer has access, you know, to feed that is affordable and that will make the farmer happy. Thank you. Before I proceed, I just want to let you know that our attendance at 2 p.m., our attendance at 2 p.m. before we started, shareholders and their proxies were 672. 672 at 2 p.m. It may be more now. So once again, thank you, our ever supportive shareholders, for your comments and questions. Having fully dealt with the first item, we now move to the other items on the agenda. In view of the nature of this meeting, which is fully physical and on the strength of Section 248 of CAMA and Article 38 of the Articles of Association, I hereby declare that voting at this meeting shall be by show of hands. Please note that only ordinary resolutions are required for all the items. That is, a simple majority of the votes will suffice for each resolution. For the avoidance of doubt, please note that voting on the resolution shall be by show of hands. Thus, voting will be done by the shareholders or their proxies here present and will be counted by the registrars. After the entire voting exercise, the result of the voting shall be announced by me. The independent auditor shall act as scrutineer. We now come to the next item on the agenda. Item number 2 on the agenda is to declare a dividend. The director's proposal is that dividend amounting to 9.23 billion naira in respect of and out of the accumulated profits of the company be declared. And further, that the dividend be paid on Friday, the 10th of November 2023 to shareholders registered in the books of the company at the close of business on Friday, the 13th October 2023. The proposed dividend amounts of 2.25 naira kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo. I hereby move that the director's proposal for the dividend be adopted. Will someone please rise and second the motion?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Kabiru Abdullahi Tambari, one of the shareholders from Sokoto State. Before I second the motion, Mr. Chairman, I will just give short advice to our wonderful boards. My advice to you, please, next year, either proxy or physical, try to shift meeting from 2 p.m. to 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. Why I have said this, I'm attending several meetings for the past 20 years. I'm like Lagosian, I'm in Sokoto always. But a lot of shareholders, some are not here. Some are very far. And the hold-up started. So that is my advice to you as a shareholder. The meeting should be shifted to 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. so that some shareholders can get time and access to go back home in time. Some are women, some they want to cook, some they have children. So that is my advice. I hereby second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and your point is taken. I now put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their right hands? Thank you. Will those against the motion please signify by raising their right hands? I declare the motion carried unanimously. Since the next item on the agenda concerns me personally, I would like to hand over to the proceedings to the GMD CEO, Mr. Boye Olusanya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chairman and Acting Chairman of this meeting. Permission to sit down. You would have seen from the report of the directors on page 38 of the annual report that 5 directors are due for re-election in line with Article 71 of the Articles of Association. They are Mr. Mohammed K. Ahmad, Mrs. Juliet Anama, Mr. Paul Gbededo, Alhaji Yunus Saliu, Mr. Folarin Williams. Since there are 5 directors to be re-elected, 5 separate votes would take a long time. I propose that we take them together. Do I have your permission to do so? I therefore move that all 5 directors be re-elected by a single resolution. Would someone please rise to second the motion?
I rise to second the motion. My name is Elijah Sarata Iyabode Balogun.
Thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their right hand? Would those, please put your hands down, thank you. Would those against the motion please signify by raising their right hands? I declare the motion carried. I hereby move that all 5 retiring directors, Mr. Mohamed K. Ahmad, Mrs. Juliet Anama, Mr. Paul Gbededo, Alhaji Yunus Saliu, and Mr. Folarin Williams be re-elected. That's it now. Would someone please rise and second this motion? Please. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Ogundikwe. I hereby second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their right hand? Thank you. Would those against the motion please signify by raising their right hand? Thank you. I declare the motion carried unanimously. On behalf of all the directors who have been re-elected, we would like to profoundly thank all of our shareholders for the confidence reposed in us to serve as directors in our great company and promise to act in the best interests of the company. Thank you all very much, and I will now hand over back to the chairman to continue the proceedings.
Thank you very much, GMD. The next item on the agenda is to disclose the remuneration of managers of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. The remuneration of managers of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC is shown on pages 150 of the annual report. The next item on the agenda is to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the independent auditor. The firm of KPMG Professional Services has acted satisfactorily as our independent auditors for the past year and are represented at this meeting by Dr. Goodluck Obi, and Mr. Akintoye Alawode has also indicated willingness to continue as the company's independent auditors. Section 408, subsection 1B of CAMA requires that the remunerations of the independent auditor be fixed by the company in general meeting or in such a manner as the company in general meeting may determine. Accordingly, I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to determine the remuneration of the auditors of the company, KPMG Professional Services. Will someone please rise and second the motion?
My name is Esther Funke Augustine. I second the motion.
I now put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their right hand? Thank you. Will those against the motion please signify by raising their right hand? I declare the motion carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the election of the shareholders' representatives on the Statutory Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 404, subsection 3 of CAMA 2020, members of the Audit Committee are subject to election annually. Section 404, subsection 6 requires that they be formally nominated. Accordingly, 6 valid nominations were received from shareholders on the members to represent them in the Audit Committee. Accordingly, the valid nominees now being presented to you for election are as follows: Adetunji Ajani Babajide, Alayaki Adeshina, Adeshina Olalekan Oladepo, Adeshina Tajuddin Imran, Shekoni Nuruddin Adebayo, Olalekan Iyolalai, you are to elect 3 of these 6 nominated shareholders to represent you in the Audit Committee. For the avoidance of doubt, please note that voting shall be by show of hands and not a poll. Thus, voting will be done by the shareholders' proxies here present. After the entire voting exercise, the result of the voting shall be announced by me. The independent auditor shall act as scrutineer. I will now proceed with taking the votes. Would all those in favor of the election of Mr. Adetunji Ajani Babajide as a representative of the shareholders in the Audit Committee of the company please signify by raising their right hands? Will all those in favor of the election of Mr. Alayaki Adeshina as a representative of the shareholders in the Audit Committee of the company please signify by raising their right hands? Let's go to the next. Will all those in favor of the election of Mr. Adeshina Olalekan Oladepo? Please raise only one hand. Raise only one hand. Let's go to the next. Will all those in favor of the election of Mr. Adeshina Tajuddin Imran? Let's go to the next. Will all those in favor of the election of Mr. Shekoni Nuruddin Adebayo? We go to the last but not the least. Will all those in favor of the election of Mr. Olalekan Iyolalayi As a representative of the shareholders in the audit committee of the company, please signify by raising their right hands. Thank you for your patience. I think you can take your seat now. The scrutineer will next collect and verify the results, after which the results will be announced. Before the results of the voting are announced, it is my pleasure to inform you that the directors have elected the following 2 members to represent the board of directors in the audit committee of the company. These are Mr. Folusho Phillips and Alhaji Yunus Olalekan Saliu. I now have the results. Results of the voting carried out a few minutes ago, and I announce the results of the election as follows. Adetunji Ajani Babajide, 78. Alayaki Adeshina, 188. Adeshina Olalekan Oladepo, 324. Adeshina Tajuddin Imram, 357. Shekoni Nuruddin Adebayo, 317. Olalekan Iyola Lai, 73. I therefore declare that the following members have been duly elected as representatives of the shareholders in the audit committee of the company. Mr. Adeshina Tajuddin Imram, Mr. Adeshina Olalekan Oladepo, Shekoni Nuruddin Adebayo. The next set of items on the agenda are special businesses. Next item on the agenda as special business is to consider and, if thought fit, pass the following resolution being proposed as an ordinary resolution. I now call upon the company secretary to read the resolutions. The company secretary to read the resolution as contained in the notice of the annual general meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is as follows. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution on the renewal of general mandate for related party transactions as ordinary resolution of the company. That pursuant to Rule 20.2 of the Rule Book of the Nigeria Exchange Limited 2015 Issuers Rule, a general mandate B and is hereby given authorizing the company to continue to procure goods and services and engage in other transactions that are necessary for its day-to-day operations from its related parties on normal commercial terms consistent with the company's transfer pricing policy. All transactions falling under this category which were earlier entered into in 2023 prior to the date of this meeting are hereby ratified.
I hereby move that resolution number 7 on the notice of this meeting seeking to renew the resolution on the general mandate of shareholders, enabling the company to enter into recurrent transactions with related parties be and is hereby approved. Will someone please rise and second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At last, my name is Mrs. E.O. Obideyi. I rise to second that motion. The 2 o'clock is okay by some people, sir. Shareholder can, it's board of directors that will give time of the AGM, not shareholder. Because it's once in a year. If you like, you can come. If you like, the most thing is your dividend.
I now put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their hands? Will those against the motion please signify by raising their hands? I declare the motion carried. The next item on the agenda is to approve the remuneration of directors of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. The remuneration of directors of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC is shown on page 150 of the annual report. Please note that the remuneration of directors is same as last year and no increase is being sought at this meeting. I hereby move that Resolution 8 on the notice of this meeting seeking approval for the remuneration of directors be and is hereby approved. Will someone please rise and second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Prince Engineer Kolewu. I do second the motion. Thank you.
I now put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their right hands? Thank you. Will those against the motion please signify by raising their right hands? I declare the motion carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is to consider and, if thought fit, pass the following resolutions being proposed as special resolutions. I now call upon the Company Secretary to read the resolutions. The Company Secretary to read the resolutions as contained in the notice of the annual general meeting.
That pursuant to Section 11 of the Schedule of the Business Facilitation Act 2022, to consider and, if thought fit, part the following as a special resolution amending Clause 27 of the company's Memorandum and Article of Association and replacing the current provision thus. The company shall in each calendar year hold a general meeting as its annual general meeting in addition to any other meeting in that year, and shall specify the meeting as such in the notice calling it, and not more than 15 months shall elapse between the date of the one annual general meeting of the company and that of the next. The general meeting of the company shall be held either in person and or by electronic means at such a time and place as the director shall appoint. Any member of the company or his proxy shall be entitled to participate in any general meeting at which he or she is not physically present by telephone or video conferencing or similar electronic means or communication facilities that ensure that all persons participating in the meeting are able to hear one another, and the chairman of such meeting shall ensure that such directors or shareholders' observations are duly recorded in the minutes of such general meeting. Any person so participating in person or by proxy shall be deemed to be present in person at the meeting and shall be entitled to vote and be counted in a quorum accordingly. Such meeting shall be deemed to take place where the chairman of the meeting is then present.
I hereby move that the first special business by special resolution on the notice of this meeting, as read by the company secretary seeking to amend. Sorry.
Sorry, Chairman. I know that there is a business facilitator that was signed by government, but that itself is not the law, and I just want us to be careful. So my suggestion would be, let's remove the word held either. You should remove the word either, because even when you remove that, it doesn't stop you from conducting meeting virtually or whichever way. Because as far as KAMA is concerned today, which has not been amended, it still talks about physical. So let's take the opportunity of adding either, removing the word either and leaving it as have in person and or. That will still permit you to. So remove the word either. That's the amendment that I'll bring into the resolution that the company secretary has read. Thank you. If you permit me, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to come back to the second resolution on BACO. I'll plead that we don't sell it, the 60%, 100% to one individual. Where possible, let's do an offer for sale, and then we'll get maximum benefit, and then shareholders in flour mills can also buy into BACO again if they say desire. Those are my two observations. One now, the other one for later. Since you also want to do virtual, I've put my own contribution virtual ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. The points are noted. With that minor adjustment, I hereby move that the first special business by special resolution on the notice of this meeting as read by the company secretary seeking to amend clause 27 of the company's memorandum and articles of association be and are hereby approved. Will someone please rise and second the motion? Thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their right hands? Thank you. Will those against the motion please signify by raising their right hands? I declare the motion carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is to consider and, if thought fit, pass the following resolutions being proposed as special resolutions. I now call upon the company secretary to read the resolutions. The company secretary to read the resolutions as contained in the notice of the annual general meeting.
To consider and, if thought fit, pass the following subjoined resolutions as special resolution. A. Approve the carve-out of the business of BACO from that of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC into a 100% owned subsidiary of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC to receive the assets and liability of BACO carved out from Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. B, approve the process of divestment of up to 60% equity of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC in BACO. C, that the board be and is hereby authorized to take all necessary actions, including but not limited to executing such agreements and documents, appointing professional advisors and other parties complying with directives of any regulatory authority, with which may be as incidental, auxiliary, supplemental, or otherwise necessary to give full effect to the above resolutions, and that such actions as may have been already taken by management prior to the date of this meeting be and are hereby ratified.
I hereby move that the second special business by special resolution on the notice of this meeting as read by the company secretary seeking to carve out the business of BACO from that of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC into a 100% owned subsidiary and divestment of 60% equity of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC in BACO be and are hereby approved. Will someone please rise and second the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I said, hold on. I said observation. Mr. Chairman, can I proceed? Please. My name is Adebayo Adetunji Adeleke. Mr. Chairman, my brother and my friend, Nona Awo, just made a proposal to you on behalf of shareholders. If we pass this resolution in the way and format in which it is presented, we'll be shooting ourselves in the leg. This is the only platform and the supreme platform for investors to take a decision. We need to amend this proposal to reflect the wish of the shareholders, which is to say, you are not only carving out for sale, but that such sale will be an offer for sale for shareholders. You took this company from us. If you are being asked to divest it, equity demands that you should return it to us. And we are willing to pay for it. So I'm proposing that we need to amend this particular proposal before it will go. We need to include there that while you are carving it out for sale, such sale shall be an offer for sale to shareholders. That is the only way we can preserve our own interests. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Sorry. Yeah. No, thank you very much. And to all shareholders, that would be the ideal situation we would like to be in. Unfortunately, the nature of the transaction that we're forced to have requires a loss of control from an FMN point of view. And for a loss of control to happen, you are going to, for it to continue to be a viable venture for us, it requires a strategic to have control of the asset. And that strategic would require, for it to work, majority ownership. So it's difficult in that climate for us to just do an offer for sale as much as we would like to. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Chairman, I want us to understand where we are coming from. I'm not sure that SEC will say that you must sell the 60% to one institution. I'm not sure SEC that has power. They don't have such power. They probably will say, even the Monopoly Act will say, go and sell below this point. The worst case scenario I think we should do is to still offer us a percentage of what is to be sold. That would be only fairness. That's why I suggested that we should have the worst case scenario. Let's have the preferred institution that you are looking at, and then say that this size of offer that we are giving, 40% will go to them and the other will go to the other shareholders. That way there will be some level of equity, and your position from what you've said now will also be protected. Okay, please. Thank you.
Okay, observations. Let's,
Mr. Chairman, let us not stay here overflow this issue. It's almost after 4. People want to leave this venue. Let the resolution be passed as being read, proposed by the board. We put it there for a purpose. You are the man of integrity, and you cannot allow anything to subchange shareholders. Since the same SEC, the same regulator, made us to lose our investments and our money will be returned back, there's nothing else we can do any longer. They're asking you now, regulated, to divest 60%, that we should no longer have full control of that investment there. And the company will retain the 40%. Because the business is our business, it's still growing concerned. We'll be having dividend return there from that 40%. So I believe that the board should go back and do the needful as been proposed. Look for the buyer, look for the investor who will come and invest into the company. If you are coming for sale now, you are still going to have another problem with the regulator. Since they have asked you to sell off, my chairman, do it as it has been written. Please go ahead and do it. We'll pass that resolution. You want me to propose to second the motion?
excuse me. Let's take it one at a time. Is it a comment or a secondment of the motion? But we have called someone to do the secondment, and that's the man over there. Yes, please. Please, hold on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Abuja Shareholders Association, Center of Unity, I support that motion, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hands? All right. Will all those against the motion please signify by raising their hands? All right. So what amendment are we agreeing to now? What amendment are we agreeing to? Yes? No, we can't do it.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Patrick Ajudwa. Our agreement we are saying is in line with what Mr. Boniface have said. Let the management be empowered to do the needful and rightly. Yes, because you cannot go against any existing contract you have. And this is not issue of SEC. Don't let us call SEC in this matter. It is a contractual obligation between FMN and Honeywell. And you cannot do otherwise here. If you do it, Honeywell will sue you. I am telling you that.
Let's go back to our.
Mr. Chairman. Hello. My position is that minority interests must be protected all the time. That's what I stand for. And like Adebayo alluded to, before you had this 100%, they are now asking you spin off and then keep only 40%. Were we not part owners? If we are part owners, the same SEC.
Excuse me, please. It is not a SEC issue.
With due respect, Mr. Chairman.
It's not a SEC issue.
With due respect, Mr. Chairman.
Would you want me to explain to you?
No, I know where you are headed. When we, wait now. when we got Honeywell, was everything they told us that was in Honeywell, was it what we found? See, when you sign agreement of this nature, with due respect, one of the things I expect the board will also do, we found losses much bigger than they told us. So should we carry all the loss and then they keep all the gain? No, it doesn't work.
Out, and also the issues leading to the 60% that has to be divested.
And you are not breaching. I've brought this proposal, and we are not even against it. We are saying they ask you to divest, please divest. But in divesting, give us an option to buy out of it. I don't think we are contradicting any agreements. Thank you.
Do I have your attention? I'm seeing some side. We are willing here to insert a clause that you approve the process of divestment of up to 60% equity of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC in Bako. However, the shareholders should be considered on the divestment. Having put that clause in, will someone please... No, that's been... I now put the motion to the meeting. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their hands? Thank you very much. Will those against the motion please signify by raising their hands? I declare the motion carried unanimously as amended. Distinguished fellow shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, we have dealt with the formal businesses of this meeting and we'd like to thank you on behalf of the board for your continuing interest in the company's affairs. I wish you safe journey back to your various destinations. I now declare the meeting closed. The national anthem, please.
No, this is your word. My chairman, I will take you up on your word. I want you to see your word. You made a statement and I want you to see your word. And I make sure you keep your end of the bargain. I think, yes. You guys are very good. Yes. Yes. Chief Molu. Vice Molu. Chairman, I'm waiting to see your word. Yes, I'm waiting to see your word.
Give me your phone number. Phone number, your phone number. Chairman. 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 Chairman.
Madam, Alhaji, please. Alhaji.